Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 30th day of September 2024. And I'll be introducing the panelists shortly. But first, on the Daily Nation, just to remind you, the main story there is impeachment loading, defining week for Ruto-Gachagua feud. And you see the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, who has maintained his planned ouster was against the will of the people, even as National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula waded into the raging debate on the push to impeach the DP. And he was attending a prayer service at All Saints Methodist Church in Kinoru, Meru County. Then on the front page of the Standard, you'll find MPs to Ruto. DP must be sent home ahead of the president's meeting with MPs. The leaders are categorical, no discussion about dropping impeachment motion on the deputy president. You'll find the story on page 6 of the Standard, and so much more that you find, including a quote from the Speaker of the National Assembly: "We must guard our country against any person that attempts to interfere with unity and peace of Kenyans." That is Moses Wetangula himself. Then NHIF dies with its scandals and secrets, and tomorrow Kenyans wake up to a new health scheme putting an end to the National Health Insurance Fund that has had its fair share of ups and downs. I want to introduce the panelists now. David Ocheng is the Member of Parliament for Ugenya constituency. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Nelson Koech is the Member of Parliament for Belgut. He's also the Chairperson of the Defence, Foreign Relations and Intelligence Committee. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Kenyans.
Dr. Makali Mulu, Member of Parliament, Kitui Central, but also Vice Chair in the committee responsible for public debt and privatization matters. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam. Good morning, viewers.
And we have Gathoni Wamushomba, the Member of Parliament for Githunguri constituency in Kiambu County. Good morning.
I'm also a chair
of
committee that oversees the implementation of the Constitution.
CIOC.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good to see you. Karibu sana to the
Why
show.
are you denying my position? Good morning. Good
My
morning,
bad.
everyone.
Hey, but it's good to have you here. Now, there are three conversations I want us to have. Let's begin quickly on taking a look at what just happened on the 20th of September. That is at the courts on the ruling, or rather, on the NG-CDF that was termed to be unconstitutional because it interferes with the structure of devolution, structure of governance in the country. Honorable Koech, I saw members of Parliament the week after not very happy with that decision, some saying that it is now time to amend the Constitution and make a CDF constitutional. What is the biggest challenge that members of Parliament face with that finding of the court?
First, I think we must appreciate, and everyone in this country knows the work that CDF has done, NG-CDF rather, has done in every constituency. There is no accountable part of in terms of finance accountability, none is as accountable as NG-CDF. Mm-hmm. It has done so much. If you go to every constituency, the things that you see, the buildings and the structures that you see, 90% of those structures will be from NG-CDF. Mm-hmm. Classrooms, the people that are, the students that we have been able to put through school because of this noble initiative of NG-CDF mm-hmm. is phenomenal. It is, the ruling is, in my view, and I respect the judges, and I know Honorable Ocheng had, and even on the floor of the House, had a problem with most members of Parliament in their in what they had accused the courts for mm-hmm. having done. Mm-hmm. But in my view, the ruling was very political, other than practical. You know, this is if you are talking about devolution yep. and appreciating what devolution has done, there is no better way to look at it as you will look at it in NG-CDF. Mm-hmm. There's a notion that members of Parliament are in control of NG-CDF. Far from the truth. Members of Parliament are purely patrons on NG-CDF, and I think it is our duty, and I think since the courts have pronounced themselves or what they want, we as members of Parliament then should properly now make sure that legislation that we shall be doing must align with what the court has pronounced. The court should be interpreting the law. Sometimes the court goes overboard by not just interpreting the law, but even to be seen or to sound like they also want to make the law. As members of Parliament, it's our responsibility to make sure that we now align to the court ruling. And I think we still have time. I must appreciate the courts for having given us up to next year, July, to make sure that we are properly, NG-CDF is properly reconstituted. I am certain.
Is that what the court said? That
it did not say that. But we as members
giving you time to reconsider
we as members of parliament are lawmakers. We will make the law that aligns with what the court wants. That is the only shortcut that we must do at this point. But in terms of what the NG-CDF has done in every constituency, in fact, by the way, Sam, even in BBI, which I would want to call a public participation, it was supposed to be entrenched in the Constitution. That is what the people of Kenya said, that they want NG-CDF. If they did not want it, then we would not even have had it to have come out from the public.
Honorable Makali, I do not believe the court is disputing how noble CDF is and what it has done. I think largely it's about the structure and its placement and who executes what. Is there a way of really salvaging it, or is it just about either transfer that function to the counties or give it to the national government?
You know, from where I sit, I think, to me, the question we should be asking ourselves is, this country has very many development programs and development models. Out of the many we always have in this country, how many have been working well? And I remember I said this. It seems like our courts are so keen on not fixing what is not working, and destroying what is working. Because like Honorable Koech has said, CDF is one of the development models which has been applied in this country, where many, many other countries are coming over to benchmark and see what they can do so that they go back to their countries and implement. Because some, it is working. And one of the things we realize is, out of the many programs and projects we have in this country, CDF is one where you have very minimal administrative expenses, very minimal, only 5%. The rest of the money goes to development. This is a country where, when you come to our at national level, we are struggling to achieve the 30% expected of the Public Finance Management Act. When you go to the counties, we are talking about recurrent of about 70%. See another struggle. So this is a program which is working, and instead of fixing it, the gaps which might be there, we want to destroy it. That really, to me, was very surprising. The second point is, the courts have nullified quite a number of acts because of lack of public participation. And I was asking myself, and I think Ocheng will help us. Is the court not expected of also to hear what the public is saying, either by conducting research out there and finding out what Kenyans are saying? I'm sure if you go out there, forget about us who are seated here as members of parliament. Talk to the people who benefit out of this program, and they'll tell you, if you touch CDF, you're touching their lives. Is
it possible for the same to run under a different arrangement? Whether it's
Yeah, it can. Yeah. It can. But what we are saying is, instead of saying change one or two, they are saying close it. Closing is different from changing and fixing one or two things. And that's what most of members of parliament were saying. I think, you know, when we were young boys, we hear about the people living in the ivory towers up there and they don't know what is happening on the ground. I think we might be getting to that direction where those of us who live in this place called Nairobi think that out there, the rest of Kenya is like Nairobi. I'm telling you, so many children have gone to school because of CDF who would have never gone to school.
And because these are taxpayers' money, they can still be...
Yeah, it is, but that's what we're saying. Sam, how many times have we discussed with you on this table issues of accountability? So where we are saying push it, we are already crying and screaming about accountability issues. Push it to counties, the same issue. Push it to national government, it's even worse.
Mheshimiwa Gathoni, so what do we do? Because the court has pronounced itself, and it also did in 2022 on the CDF Act of 2013, and largely it's about the structure of that fund. What then? Because, yes, like he says, there are many families that have benefited from the bursaries, there are many communities that have benefited from projects, but it can be done differently, no?
Oh, yeah. I am of the opinion that judiciary has some beef. And there seems to be a situation where there is a competition between judiciary and lawmakers. And every other opportunity the judiciary has to punch on the lawmakers, they are doing it. But that notwithstanding, we must align ourselves with this constitution. The legal and structural framework for NG-CDF is constitutionally out of boundaries. And we must agree and interpret the constitution as supposed to be. The courts are right. The framework is wrong, but the impact is positive. I do not think, like my colleagues have said, there is any other fund that is very visible in our rural setting other than CDF. If you take your car, Sam, and you drive in any rural constituency, not even rural, any constituency in Kenya, the first 3 billboards you'll find are around a project being funded by NG-CDF. Of course, governors have more money. The county government has more money than the CDF, but the most visible projects, basically because probably CDF is more biased to structural development other than welfare development, and most of the counties are now leaning towards welfare development. Like in my county, I see my governor give more of welfare donations and projects like chicken, things that you cannot see physically when you're driving around. But from where I come from, at the committee that oversights the implementation of the Constitution, it is my sincere opinion and humble opinion to my colleagues and my members to listen to what the courts are saying and to redesign the fundamental structures of NG-CDF to align ourselves with the Constitution. Because, like the courts have said it so many other times, every time they give a ruling, the fund might be okay in our interpretation, but when it comes to where it is embedded on, it might be against the spirit of this Constitution. And I'll be one of those members who will volunteer to see to it that we embed NG-CDF the way it's supposed to be. I do not know why we are running to embed NG-CDF into the Constitution. Because I've not seen any, I don't know, I'm not a good lawyer, but to my little understanding, to the eyes of the public, we seem to be, the more we are defending NG-CDF, we seem to be raising eyebrows like we have special interest in NG-CDF. The other day I was listening to one of the radio talk shows and I heard somebody say that the NG-CDF money is what we take and we go and bribe voters. It's the money that we go and give free money.
Is it true?
Unfortunately, that's not the scenario because I don't think there's any member who would dare, touch that money and make it soft gifts to anyone because the laws and the regulations are there. But basically, for me, I support the court.
Okay.
I support the court with some caution that we cannot dissolve NG-CDF entirely, but we should be free to listen to the legal advisory so that we can embed NG-CDF and align NG-CDF with the spirit of the 2010 Constitution, bearing in mind that we have to allow devolution to work.
Okay, right. Honorable Cheng, so if it's school bursaries, that is a function of the national government when it comes to education. If it's building perimeter walls for police stations, that's a function that should be executed by the Interior Ministry. And if you're building schools, maybe there's a way that the national government can do it, or if it's ECD, the counties can do it. What solution would you propose?
Thank you, Sam. Sam, I think a bit of history is very important here. And you and I have discussed equity on this set for a while. There's a time in this country when you used to go queue at the office of the president to look for Harambe to build a classroom. Up to 2002, members of parliament would queue at the OP, and depending on the political correctness, you'd get some 20,000 shillings, 100,000 shillings to build a classroom. You would queue at the Ministry of Water to get a borehole. I mean, it was terrible. Of course, you know that there's time when the salary for the MPs used to come to the office of the president before PSC brought to be. And so CDF had a history that there are things that were not working right. And CDF has been an extremely equalizing factor in terms of rural development in this country. That cannot be gainsaid. Fast forward, today, we budget money to the Ministry of Education, today, for infrastructure. Now, the way that money is distributed, again, you must queue at the office of PS. To get a borehole in your constituency, because now we can't do boreholes within CDF, you have to go and queue at the PS ministry, PS's office in the Ministry of Water. This is the position. That there are so many things that the things that MP shudder that would happen are those ones where one, successive governments have not been equitable. You find some constituencies today have 100 million shillings for rural electrification, and another one has 10 million. So the biggest issue in the House has always been equity and how best to deal with equity, but for having a properly functioning rural development fund that gets money to the constituencies in an equitable manner. That was the concept, that was the idea. Okay? Now, fast forward, come the 2010 Constitution. And this is the big issue in the House, that the CDF was running before the 2010 Constitution. Now, when the 2010 Constitution came, it didn't align CDF to its structure. So CDF continues existing as a mongrel. It is neither a center for devolution nor a center for national government. This is the issue. And so I don't want someone to even imagine that I oppose CDF or that, no. I'm so acutely aware of what would happen if CDF were not there. And a way must be found to save.
But I hear you saying that you find electrification program is allocated 100 million shillings in our constituency, 10 million in the other.
Yes.
What is the difficulty here? Because Kenyans believe, and the Constitution gives Parliament, especially the National Assembly, the mandate to share the resources. Is it that you don't get to the nitty-gritties? You just assign or allocate a pool of resources without going to specific where it's meant to go?
No, it's a failure of Parliament, if you ask me, a failure of budgeting process. And again, you see, people tell you we look for government so that we're able to distribute resources and all that. And so the biggest issue in the House, and the biggest issue that we're going to be discussing next, is about equity. It's about everyone feeling that they're part of this country, that everybody getting according to their need, everybody getting, if we have 100 shillings, can we get every other Kenyan, every region of this country getting what they need? But the reason I had an issue with fellow MPs is the way we behave as if the courts are interpreting a law that is made in mass. No. The courts in this situation are right. They're saying that the constituencies, as any other constitution, are not levels of revolution. They are levels of oversight, they're levels of representation. They're telling us, could you go in there and get a way of ensuring that you can entrench this in a manner that respects devolution? And of course, there's been a running war between members of Parliament and the Council of Governors. The Council of Governors thinking that the money is going to CDF should be going to the counties. Members of Parliament believing that if you take this money to the counties, not just stolen, you lose that equity, the sense of it. Okay? And so a way must be found, and I've been thinking about this in the last few days. And see, in every constituency now,
right,
or in every county now, there are things they are calling sub-counties.
Yes. Okay?
And so a way must be found to channel this money through, because if there's a county and there's a ward, and there's a sub-county between a ward and the county, can you get a way of getting this money to the sub-counties if the courts are saying that the constituencies don't exist within the framework of devolution as envisaged? Number three, which members of Parliament, like myself, I think we try to hide this, in my opinion, and we shouldn't hide it. For us to get back Parliament that was in the days of Orengo and Shikuku and, the fabricants of GM Karaoke, for us to get Parliament back working, we must completely disentangle CDF from members of Parliament. They can't even be patron. No.
Okay, interesting.
They just have to play oversight like they do with any other fund. The reason people go to court, some Kenyans have an issue with members of Parliament, is that they think that we've refused to do their work. We refuse to represent them because we are busy trying to manage CDF. Of course, that is far from the truth in most situations. But if there is any...
You have no influence in your constituency development?
Of course I have. I do. It's just that I don't interfere, I don't influence the way the CDF, for example, would give tenders and all that. It's something I don't do totally. But of course, the members who do it. And so the public is saying, if we are to have this going on, and if you are to have our members of parliament focusing on the issues that relate to them under 96 of the Constitution, then you must disentangle them totally from the CDF. And this is the issue that I want to really plead the fellow members of parliament. This must happen.
Okay.
For us to save the noble role of CDF, you must agree that you must also remove the hands of parliamentarians or even iota of control that the public may have on the CDF. And I think that must happen. But three is that there's every time we've tried to entrench the CDF Constitution, something that comes up every time, and I must talk about here today, is something that today is called Senate Oversight Fund. An illegal fund. It's almost a bribe, in my opinion, to the senators by National Assembly, that for us to keep the CDF going, senators must also have some fund going on. That has to be scrapped to go away, so that the CDF becomes a truly rural development kitty that MPs have no role to do with, and so that members of parliament, both senators and National Assembly, National Assemblers, focus on oversight, budgeting, and solving issues that bedevil Kenyans every day. These are the issues that
all right.
you deal with.
I hear you. And I want us to talk about something else. Just